All right, welcome back to another episode of Talkin' Ball with Pat Leonard. Training camp is underway. A special guest returns to the program to talk NFL football, none other than ESPN senior NFL insider, Adam Schefter. Adam, first of all, thanks so much for being here. And secondly, could you please tell us about the importance of raising awareness for type 1 diabetes screening right off the bat?
Well, Pat, I appreciate you asking. Nice to be with you again. And my wife, Sherry, as we've talked about before, has type 1 diabetes. I've seen what it's like for her to manage this disease. And it's why I've partnered with Sanofi to raise awareness around the importance of screening for type 1 diabetes. T1D can't be prevented, but it can be detected early. And screening gives people valuable time to prepare. So I'm encouraging people to make a plan. Visit their doctor, talk to their doctor about type 1 diabetes, tell them that you want to be screened. Then, in the end, go to the website, screen4type1.com to learn more about T1D. That's screen4type1.com. And you go to the website, you learn, and we all know how important information is. It's how we make our living. I want everyone to know that early knowledge is crucial when it comes to your health as well.
Thank you for that message. We know that when people want information, they go to you. So we're going to fill this episode with Giants questions for an insider such as yourself, dig into New York's football team and see what we can come up with. Our first question is our Boom Impact question of the day, brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink. Support your immune system and fight inflammation with the benefits of Boom Chaga. Fuel your body with nature's best and feel the difference at boomchaga.com. Talking Ball 25 is your code there. Adam, my question for you is this. Do you think the Giants will give Jaxson Dart a chance to win the week 1 starting job? Brian Daboll has said Russell Wilson's their starter, but they drafted this young man in the first round. If he impresses enough in training camp, won't they consider giving him the ball?
I think what you said there, that one sentence is probably key. If he impresses enough. If we look back on other quarterbacks to win jobs over veterans early on, what stands out to me is Russell Wilson in 2012. He was a 3rd-round draft pick, the 75th overall selection. The Seahawks traded for Charlie Whitehurst. They signed Matt Flynn, and Russell Wilson came out and played so well in the preseason that they had no choice but to start him. Everybody could recognize that he was the best quarterback in the room. And I go back to when the Dallas Cowboys drafted Dak Prescott, I believe in the 4th round. And he came out in the preseason and he lit it up. I think that the plan going in is to have Russell Wilson start the season. But that doesn't mean that Jaxson Dart couldn't go to camp, couldn't go into the preseason, and play so well that everybody could see it, and they are left no other choice. But Jaxson Dart would have to go change their mind during the preseason and play so well to win that. Can he do it? Sure. Yeah, he can do that. And by the way, if he's going to be the type of quarterback that the Giants hope he could be, that would be the quickest, safest, and easiest way to do it. Show him right out of the gate that he's a big-time quarterback. It may take time, but every quarterback develops at a different pace and level. So he may not win that job out of the gate, and he still may be effective one day. But if he seizes that job out of camp, Russell Wilson's not going to be happy about it, but that's going to set up the Giants for years to come.
And to your point, if anyone's going to have to understand it, it would be Russell Wilson, because he did it himself to some veterans before. Great comment and analogy there to his time in Seattle. Okay, next question, on to our big bet of the day, brought to you by MyBookie. MyBookie has a lot of unique features that a lot of sports books do not. Money bag, partner picks, daily bet boosts. It's the best place to bet WWE. And as you all know, you can follow and tail my Pat's picks for the NFL all season. That's mybookie.com. The code there is Leonard, my last name. All right, Adam, the big bet of the day. The question here is, do you believe Jameis Winston will be on this team at the start of the regular season? Because we have Russell Wilson here seemingly entrenched unless somebody dramatically changes the Giants' mind as the starter. And then you have Jaxson Dart, who is the future of the franchise, but also somebody who people in the building leading with the decision makers, especially Brian Daboll, who makes the quarterback decisions, really love. So Jameis Winston seems caught in the middle. Will he be on this roster once we get to week 1 in the regular season, in your mind?
I think he will be, because I think there's value in Quarterbacks are currency, and Jameis is a popular figure, and he's well liked and he's regarded well and respected. Now, if they were in a roster crunch and they needed a spot and they had like 7 receivers when they thought they were carrying 6, or 5 running backs when they thought they were carrying 4, and they needed to find an extra guy, and you decided Jameis was the guy. But I think in an ideal world, I think you want Jameis on your team. I think you want him on your team. That's my feeling. Like, that guy is just fun to be around. His attitude is infectious, and you want him on your roster if you can. Now, they may need that roster spot so badly that maybe there's a way he's not. But to me, he's a guy you want.
You mentioned receivers. That brings me to a question about the receiver room right now. It's Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson. But the Giants did poke around on a familiar name, Gabe Davis, formerly of the Buffalo Bills, Jacksonville Jaguars, somebody who Dable and Shane know well.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Giants end up signing either Davis himself or a veteran receiver? They've added some guys, little Jordan Humphrey, Zach Pascal, receivers like that. But do you think it's likely that they add a player like that to not just into their receiver room, but somebody who's really going to play and contribute?
Well, look, you got Malik Neighbors, you got Wan'Dale Robinson. They're still waiting for Jalen Hyatt to turn into the player that they hope he can be. Who else is there, Pat?
Darius Slayton. We got
Darius Slayton there. He's making it. Right? They paid him $12 million, so that's a third receiver. Keep going.
Yeah, and then we got, Amir Smith-Marset. He's like a returner who they're giving a shot at receiver. They got some young guys like Dylan Cambry, Bo Collins. But you're kind of pointing out, too, if Hyatt translates into what they were hoping he could be, maybe you have less of a need versus if he doesn't impress, maybe you need that deep threat.
I would think a lot of it depends on some of these guys like a Jalen Hyatt, right? Like they may not need a guy like that right now. You may hope that you're not going to need a guy like that now, but a week or two into camp, when you see these guys and get a longer look, you may say, you know what, we might be a receiver short here. Let's go get Gabe Davis. I don't know if they're thinking that right now, but I know Gabe Davis is going to find a new home here in the next week or two, and there has to be a certain comfort level with the guys in New York.
No doubt. Well said. Yes. A complicated offense that not many players out there on the free agent market could just jump into and play within, Davis being one of them, potential fit. But like you said, maybe that's not how they're thinking right now. Big picture, Adam, are Joe Shane and Brian Dable both on a scorching hot seat this season? Do you think one of them is safer than the other? And one last wrinkle to this is, what do you think it takes for them to get to 2026? Like, what's acceptable and what is not in the mind of Giants ownership? Because frankly, Adam, I'm just going to be honest with you. After going 3-14 and them coming back, it's hard for me to answer this question myself. Where's the bar? Where's the barometer? What's good enough? What's bad enough? How do you see it?
I think it's a feel thing. And not to put them on the hot seat. That's not the idea of this at all, because I continually am asked about hot seats, and I don't like hot seats in July. They don't mean anything to me, because there are times when we talk about coaches and GMs being on a hot seat in July and their team plays good, strong, effective, winning football during the year. And that hot seat that we talked about in July is not hot at all. And there are coaches going into the season that would seemingly be safe. Their teams struggle more than we would expect. And lo and behold, in November and December, they are on the hot seat. So it's fun conversation right now. It's logical conversation, but it's really meaningless conversation, because until this team goes out and plays well or not, then you can't determine whether or not their seat is hot. I think in the NFL, I think most every coach and GM, they know that if they don't win, and they don't win on a regular basis, there's going to be criticism and there's going to be calls for their jobs, and their seat is going to heat up. I think that's a given with the jobs in this league, and really sports in general, but no sport more than the National Football League. So, yeah, if they don't win, there'll be calls for their jobs. Whether or not John Mara, Steve Tisch, whether they abide by them, listen to them, we'll see. That's a different thing. But if this team comes out and surprises people this year, and performs in a way like the Washington Commanders did last year, which you may not think they're capable of doing, but I guarantee they think they're capable of doing. And guess what? They get to say on the field. So either they're going to go out and play well, And those questions that are out there, the criticism that's waiting to be, that's going to quiet down and go away, or they're not going to play well. And those questions are going to be right there, more so than ever, with the heat back on them. Like, it's real clear. Win, all's good. Lose, it's all into question again. Like, you don't need me to tell you that, Pat. You know that.
Right. But essentially what you're saying too, it sounds like what you're saying is it's not necessarily like dragging last year's disappointment into this, that the evaluation for 2025 starts now. And
I think that's the case with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, again, short of, say, Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, Nick Sirianni, like there aren't that many coaches that you just look at and you say, this guy's safe. Like, something could happen this year with a coach you wouldn't imagine. You'd think, well, this guy's safe, right?
Right.
And then the season goes south real quick. Like, did people think Mike Vrabel was going to get fired when he did from Tennessee? Nobody would have thought that. Did people think Pete Carroll was going to get fired? Nobody would have guessed that. Every year there's somebody that's fired that you're not expecting.
Yeah.
It's just the way the sport works. There's the sport of football and there's the sport of going after coaches and GMs. That's become a sport into itself.
That's very well said. No question. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was
yeah. And so guess what? The Giants are involved in the sport of football and the sport of trying to keep their coach and GM safe.
And you alluded to, hey, they could exceed expectations. They believe they can. And one way they could right now is two of the teams in their division have two of their top players, or each has a top player not practicing or looking for a new contract and unhappy. You have Terry McLaurin with the Washington Commanders, their top receiver. You have Micah Parsons in Dallas, the star pass rusher. He's there at camp, but at the moment, some war of words with Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons. So my question to you from a Giants angle, Adam, they play the Commanders in week 1 and the Cowboys in week 2. Right away, have an opportunity there to get some wins in the division and immediately kind of turn the tide. Do you envision either of those scenarios as threatening that these players wouldn't be available there? I know that's technically what they're doing right now, but a lot of times, obviously, we see these things get done when the deadline arrives. Do you see either of these as at risk of the player not being on the field for either Washington in week 1 with McLaurin or Parsons in week 2 with Dallas?
Well, Pat, I would say this. It's Wednesday, July 23rd as we're having this conversation. That is a long ways off. But if we're having this conversation on August 23rd, then there's the real possibility that may happen. I tend to believe that all these things are going to get solved over time. It's the rare case when it doesn't. Most disputes get resolved at some point or another. Very few of them linger into the season. Occasionally they do. The Bengals once had one with Carson Palmer. Didn't report, didn't show up, and then they wound up trading him the day before the trade deadline to the Raiders after they lost Jason Campbell to a hip injury. So you just don't know how it's going to go. I would say at some point in time, the Commanders and Terry McLaurin will figure it out. At some point in time, the Cowboys and Micah Parsons will figure it out. That's the history of how these things are done. But it becomes all the more interesting if on August 23rd, a month from now, they're still lingering out there.
Great point. Staying on the subject of contracts, we're going to call this the sweetener segment. This is brought to you by Hooks Rubs and Spices. Whether you're smoking brisket, searing steaks and burgers, this award-winning, allergen-free Hooks Rubs and Spices brings big Texas flavor straight to your grill. It's hooksrub.com. Talking Ball is the code. So this is about Dexter Lawrence. Now, Adam, I did ask Dexter Lawrence this question. He said he's focused more on winning than anything else, and the contract could take care of itself. But the reality is, this is a guy who a lot of people consider the, if not one of a handful of the best D tackles in football. And the extension he signed in 2023, it ranked him at that time, tied for the third highest paid among defensive tackles in the NFL. He is now tied for 10th just because the market has exploded. There's a lot of great game-changing players at that position. My question to you is, do you think that something imminent could come down? He's not holding out. He's at practice. He's practicing. He's saying all the right things. But do you think something imminent could come to pass where the Giants pay Dexter Lawrence where he belongs in that and kind of head off at the pass, the idea that there could be friction there down the road?
Pat, my first question would be, with all the reads, are you making more than Dexter Lawrence? Because that's a lot of reads in a podcast. So, I think that with all these reads, you might be making more than Dexter Lawrence. Now, as for him and his particular situation, that's a risk that you run when you sign a contract extension. And he has played up to and exceeded that contract. I have not heard about him holding out for a new deal, but look, players need to cash in when they can, and maybe he's going to go back to them at some point this summer, and maybe he gets some incentives added or something like that to sweeten the deal. But that's why you sign a guy early, and you only get so many chances to go to a team. Like, you can't ask him to redo the deal every single year unless your name is Trey Hendrickson, I guess, and you're working on undervalued 1-year deals. So that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it, so I don't have an actual firm answer for you. But my immediate reaction, hearing that he did the deal in 23, so he's played 2 seasons, would be that the Giants might say, hey, Dexter, we just did this. Let's play 1 more year. If you play at that level, we'll take care of that this year. Or maybe they sweeten it and adjust it this year. That's possible, I guess. I don't know anything. I'm just speculating in my mind. But it's a fair question. He's a great player. I'm sure they want to keep him happy. But look, the Giants took the chance in 23 and they paid him then.
Well said. All right, we'll close on this. Thanks for your time and insight as always.
Don't tell me we got another sponsor.
We don't. I was actually going to do a 4th read, but we're running out of time, and you're giving me the business on it. So
Hey, if you're going to get one, I want one more for screenfortype1.com. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah, let's talk about type 1. Yeah, let's raise awareness for type 1 on the way out.
Well, again, you have all the reads on peppers and meats and brisket and everything else that we're talking about. I think the most important thing is diabetes and screening for type 1 diabetes and talking to your doctor about T1D and telling them you want to be screened. So again, as we told people before, in between all the reads, go to screenfortype1.com to learn more about T1D. Pat, I'm not gonna let up on you. I've never heard that many reads in one podcast in my life. Like, there's a limit, Pat. Come on.
We're a one-stop shop here at Talking Ball, Adam. Come on, man. Give me some credit. No, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Always welcome on Talking Ball. Thanks so much.
Pat, great to be with you. Have a great summer at training camp.